Lila, we are live.
Yay! Good morning,
Good,
Victor. Good morning, everyone.
good morning, Lila. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about rent and looking for a place to live. Is it hard to or to rent a flat in Barcelona? It's a big topic. We got a lot of feedback on the surveys and on LinkedIn regarding this topic. And but before we jump into it, I was hoping that you could give us a little bit of a background story of who you are and where you come from. What's your story, Lila?
Thank you, Victor. Yes, absolutely. This is a very hot topic. So we'll get to that. Well, my name is Laila. I'm originally from Moscow, Russia, but I've been to Barcelona for the past 12 years since my middle school. And I relocated with my family and was trying to figure out the new life in Catalonia, because I started in a small town in Costa Brava and then moved to Barcelona, run away, let's say. I graduated school here, went to business university, and then I just started working. On the course of my professional career, realized that my destiny and my call for life is to help others, and figure that the best way I can help people is to go through what the path I went, but with make it much smoother and easier and more fun. So I became. It's not like I became. It just happened that I became a relocation agent and real estate agent, helping people with households with their problems that can come across when they just moved to Barcelona or have been living here for just a while. So
Okay.
that's shortly my story.
Excellent. Well, one of the things that I wanted to address are perhaps these new rental laws from May of this year. Now, why are these important?
Right. Yeah, that rental law was quite a surprise, because laws in the rental market are frequently changing. That's normal. We're used to this. But however, this one was live precisely to address the problem that money decides who's going to rent which flat. So it's always was a challenge to rent a flat in Barcelona for the past decade, I would say. But with this law, they established who's going to pay agency fee commission, what kind of profile has to be renting the flat, etc. And instead of making it easier, it actually overcomplicated, because let's talk about commission first of all, because I think that's like the main outcome of this law. Usually, all this time, it was a tenant or client who was paying agency fee commission, which is quite elevated. Usually, it's 10% of the annual fee plus VAT. And obviously, that's like above the monthly rental price. And usually this for long-term and short-term contracts, it was the tenants who were paying this commission, not the landlord. This new law passed, and it established that actually the landlord who has to cover this commission without any kind of explanation or any definition. So what happened eventually, because the market is, we say it's landlord's rental market right now, so it's their part who decides and who has more priorities right now on the market. Their decision is more valued than the tenant's one. That's just the way market is right now. And agencies, they usually prefer to keep long-term relationship with landlords than with tenants, because tenants come and go, come to Barcelona and leave it. So it's not such a long term. And they figured out that they would just change type of contract, we'll speak about it in a second, from long term, so from the usual 3, 5, 7 years to 11 months temporarily contract, and they will still charge commission from the tenant, because that's kind of a loop to this law.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so they're going to charge the tenant the commission. What is the loophole to the law?
So that's because the law is not establishing what kind of contract it covers, long-term or temporal. The agencies now have this kind of argument to clients. So, oh no, commission is not paid only in the long-term contracts. For this short term, it's still the tenant, the client, who has to cover the commission fee. And still, the funny abusive thing here is that even for the 11-month contract, you still pay a yearly commission fee. So they still charge you 10% of 12 months, even though the contract is for 11.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, one of the subjects that was very popular or maybe controversial on LinkedIn was whether or not, landlords had significantly more negotiating power than I guess the people who are renting. And one of the reasons that some of the landlords have challenges is with non-payment. So once you get in, you're decently paying, and then all of a sudden you stop paying your rent.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the insurance for non-payment and impagos in
Yeah,
Spanish?
of course. So that's another topic why it's hard to rent for foreigners, for people who don't have a official income in Spain, is that many flats, the landlords prefer to have insurance for non-payment, seguro de impagos. And that means that landlord transfers their decision of the profile of a tenant to the insurance company. Because, well, I think it's already a very known topic about ocupas problem, the squatters problem in Spain. However, this topic is a bit different because non-payers, the people who officially enter the flat on the terms of tenants and just stop paying, are not ocupas. Those are non-payers. That's two different legal terms. Anyways, insurance company would cover any kind of expenses for the landlord if they have such tenants stop paying or damaging something and not leaving the flat, not not how's it called, not responding to the conditions the rental contract was signed by, only in case this tenant was approved by this insurance company. And to get approved, this tenant must have official income in Spain for over a year or so, have enough funds, have a stable work. Clearly, when foreigners come, and even with their Western salary, which is like times higher than the average salary in Spain, they still wouldn't be covered by this insurance, which is understandable, because in case of if this case goes to law and the law rules that yes, we have official right to get compensation from this client, from this tenant, they can somehow affect the Spanish bank accounts, Spanish employer, sorry, but not American, German, Russian, whoever, because they just don't have any legal power over those countries. They would not be able to process this court rule.
Okay, so the insurance is obtained by the landlord, and the landlord will only accept the tenant if they are able to get the insurance.
Yeah, correct.
I see. But if you don't work, or if you have your income source is outside of Spain, the tenant may not be able to obtain the insurance,
Of
or
this
it will not
flat.
be approved for insurance.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why, for example, because most of my clients for the hunt of rental flats, we just don't even visit the flats that are telling us from the beginning that the landlords hire insurance company, because there's just no point, because we know our profile not going to be approved. still there are flats that are not using this insurance. The landlords understand that Barcelona is extremely international city, and foreigners can bring enough money, but that's rises the cost of rental, because they're like, okay, we're gonna put it like 20% above what this flat's supposed to cost in rental market, but we can rent it to foreigners.
Okay, got it. So if you don't qualify for the insurance coverage, they increase the rent to make up for the risk that they assume.
Yeah.
Got it. All righty. Another topic that you've hit on several times now is non-Spanish income and labor contracts. I imagine these non-Spanish income makes it hard to rent,
Yeah.
to obtain a rent. Why is that? These labor contracts?
Well, that's precisely because of the insurance. So non-Spanish income is making hard for insurance company and for landlord to track your actual official income, and in case of any conflict, to freeze your bank account and get some money from there. So that's like already the topic of insurance we've been speaking about a minute ago.
Okay, I thought so. I just didn't know if there was anything more that you wanted to add. So is it very common, because I had not heard of the insurance for impagos as a condition, or qualifying it as a condition for rent. I had heard of it for buying, but I had not heard of it for renting. Um,
It was
and
a, oh, sorry.
no, please go ahead.
Yeah, it was it's quite new, to be honest, because that's was one of the measures to prevent ocupos and impagos. So insurance company created this kind of service just a while ago. So when I was renting my flat, for example, no one was like, which was 7 years ago, no one was ever mentioning this. However, there's like maybe to add to Spanish income and some kind of exceptions as well, as there's such term as avalista, so a financial guarantee. For example, in my case, when 7 years ago I was a student, obviously I wasn't making any income, or I mean, just some of it, which was definitely not enough to cover the rent. And my father, who I have like documents of a direct family connection, was my financial representative, like my financial, yeah, like
Your co-signing.
aval, avalista they call it. And because he does have Spanish income, that was a suitable way of signing a contract that obviously my father of a student will be covering all the financial expenses and carry this burden. So sometimes, as a loop to rent a flat, we with my clients, if they have some sort of relative or very close friend, we would put them in the contract as a financial guarantee. So the landlord has a little bit more security. If they can't hire insurance company, they can use the financial representative.
Right. Okay. Co-signer, very common in the U.S. All right.
Oh,
Then
right.
talk to me a little bit about agency commissions.
Right.
You mentioned it's 10% of the annual, I guess, rent.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about agency commissions, and how does this play into whether or not it's hard to get an apartment in Barcelona?
Right. Well, it all comes to the usual dilemma between time and money. So if you want to rent faster, usually I explain to my clients and to everyone who's seeking that if time is a matter, you may consider that you're going to be overspending on deposits and agency commissions. So as I mentioned, now by law, the agencies are not allowed to take any commission fee for the long-term contracts. So the contracts of over 1 year, because by law they are obliged to take this commission from the landlord. And surprisingly, some agencies actually obey it, and they do that. But sometimes there are very abusive terms to this, one of the examples, it was one agency. They said, yes, we are obeying this law. The contract is for 5 years. And usually, if it's a 5 years contract, only 1 year is 6 months or 1 year is the minimum, the must minimum, where the tenant must leave and pay. And after 1 year, they may leave without any penalties. However, some agencies got an agreement with landlord, and they said that you're going to get penalties for each year you're not living. So imagine you're leaving after 3 years, you still have to cover 2 years equivalent. So it will be like 2 months equivalent of 2 years that are pending to complete of this 5 years contract, which is a massive abuse. Like it's illegal. Other than that, there are temporary contracts, which I will speak about in a second in our next topic. But agencies are still trying to get their commission for the long-term contracts, but they just naming it differently. They name it a relocation service or apartment hunting service. So they are taking this money anyways. It's possible to rent a long-term flat without any commission. Yes, but if we have this kind of filter with my clients, which, I mean, I will be finding a flat that my client will first of all love, and that they will ask me for what kind of requirements they need. If it's a flat without agency commission, we just extend our search for another month. So if it's usually about a month to rent a flat, without agency commission, that would be about 2 months to find, because those are only 25% of the flats on the market right now with obeying this new law.
Only about 25% of the landlords are obeying the new law.
Well, it's agencies. It's not landlord. Landlords are just like
not landlords. Sorry.
Yeah.
Correct. Sorry, I misspoke there. Thank you for correcting that. The question regarding short versus long-term rent.
Yeah.
Can you please expand a little bit about why this is important that people realize?
So those kind of contracts existed, I think, almost all the time. So temporary rent assumes it's the rent from 32 days to 11 months. So don't mix it with touristic kind of rent, because touristic rent, it's like each day. So it's overnight count. And for that, you need a special tourist license in city of Barcelona, which is impossible to obtain right now because there was a quota and it's closed. So you only can buy a flat with this tourist license, which increases its return of investment for like 35%. This is a different topic. I thought it worth mentioning over like 3 different types of contracts. Temporary rent allows landlords to rent this apartment through Airbnb, but only above 32 days of stay, or to rent it for students who take a 6-month language course, or to some project professionals who were relocated by their landlord to Spain and stay here only for like 8 months of project, 11 months of project. So this is the time period range for this kind of contract. And remembering the loop of the new law, the agencies charge commission for the month they're renting. So if it's like, sometimes if it's below 6 months, they take 1 month of commission, 1 month worth. If it's above 6 months, it's 10% of the annual. Every agency counts their commission themselves. So there's no established standard, like they're more or less. And then we have the long-term rental. So it's when person or family or student relocated and they just decided to stay. So they're here for 3, 5, 7 years and live in this flat. Most of the time, these kind of flats are empty. They're not with any kind of furniture. So It's logical. The person comes, they buy all the furniture of their taste, and they just live in this flat happily with a bit of increasing rent every year. But this is the law of of inflation, which is always in the rental contract. It's always capped by 2-3%, or whichever the statistics ministry will be saying, but more or less like this.
Okay, so it's tagged to the CPI for the long-term rent, the Consumer Price Index for
Yeah,
Spain.
absolutely.
And the one of the things that has been said is that the landlords have very strong powers in their rental contract, and if you are somebody looking to rent a flat and you want to change the standard terms of a contract, you are in a significant disadvantage because the landlord can just choose to not change anything on your terms and move to somebody else because of the laws of supply and demand. Is this correct, or can you speak to this?
Yeah, with pleasure. Actually, it's one of the topics I always explain to my client before we start working, because in every culture, in every nation, there's a different approach to contracts, I would say. And from my experience in Spain, the rental contract is not really abusive, but it's addition to the actual law of rent, like rental laws. So whichever is mentioned in the contract cannot go against the law, the established law for rentals. And because that law is almost all the time is on the tenant side, the contract is helping a landlord to protect themselves from the actual law which the contract must obey. So there are some gray zone topics in the law, and yes, landlords with agencies that usually make this contract would try to protect the landlord's side if it's a gray zone. However, I'm not under impression that the contracts are abusive. No, because as tenant, we have a lot of rights to to refer to the actual law, and they must put in the contract that this contract obeys the rental law.
Excellent.
However, um, you're right about the moving to other candidates because of the supply demand that currently exists. Um, you're not, as a tenant, you're not obliged to sign any kind of contract if you don't agree with terms or something. We also successfully negotiate if there are some changes that we would like to add to the contract. It's not like it's impossible. The rental contracts are pretty standard. There are some things that I just out of experience look after to make sure they're written, their established period time of deposit return, for example, after the return of the keys, or the condition of the flat, so who is responsible for painting the walls after the leave, etc. So there are some of lists that I go through and I'm seeking in the contract. However, if when a client wants to rewrite every single point of the contract, because, for example, in Russia, for us, contract just culturally must be responding each clause, each point needs to make sense. It needs to be like real and not some abstractive kind of things. And that's a bit of a change for the first time rentals of Russians here in Spain, because I'm like, look, guys, we cannot rewrite each point just because that's not how it's done here. So we are working with standard contract here. We may add something that you want, or like if they have any animals to withdraw the point of not having pets if the landlord allows it, but we're not going to rewrite it. And well, the landlord are not going to be changing the entire contract for one tenant, because as you said correctly, they have a casting of another 10 seekers for this apartment. So it's way easier for them to just move with another candidate.
Okay.
The same, yeah, the same way as when when we're trying to negotiate the price. Sometimes it was possible, or it is possible, to say that okay, let's try to make it smaller for like 50 euros, $100, 100 euros. However, right now with the prices we've got, the people are ready to pay it, just because there's a desperation level is above the roof for rentals.
Okay. On this point, as an agency, do you help people when they say that there's two or three different apartments that they might like, and they still have to negotiate? What is the process like? And say I want to, I like an apartment. I want to go ahead and try to get it. Is there a process to hold it so that the owner or the landlord is can't show it to anybody else until you lock it in? Is there a way to block it for a short period of time while you're negotiating terms, or is there's no such thing here in Spain?
There is a reservation contract for which you pay either 1 month of the rent, or in case if there is any agency commission, the agency commission fully, and that's non-refundable unless there are some sort of really unusual terms of contract, or something like, for example, if the agent said that yes, you can live here with a cat in this flat, we do the reserve, we pay, and no more showings, no more clients can try to obtain this flat. And then the landlord says, oh no, I'm not permitting any kind of pets. In this case, there is a direct misunderstanding and direct information from the client to landlord, and they must return this reservation fee. However, if the verbal terms of contract were accepted and the reservation paid, and then the client was like, oh no, actually I don't want 11 months, I want a long-term contract, then it was like, it's not the fault of agent or landlord, and this reservation fee, this is not refundable.
I see.
But
Um,
usually, yeah, the landlords usually expect this reservation when the candidate was already approved document wise. So their income, their status, their residence card, like everything was approved, pre-approved by landlord. However, there's still like this negotiation of the contract that gives the security for both sides that the flat is potentially going to be rented to this client.
okay, cool. All right. And can you share some tips of how to find a better place?
Yeah, well, first of all, patience. Even if you fell in love with one flat and it was rented to someone else, never give up, because the best flat is always in the future. That's a bit of optimism, but it actually works out. Like in my experience and statistics, it works out perfectly for every time. Always have a plan B for the short-term rents, so that will allow you to have a little bit extra time for the apartment search. So if you relocate to Barcelona, make sure you have a month or 6 weeks of this like time deposit to find a flat of your dreams. Because when people come and try to find, they just have Airbnb for 2 weeks, well, that's mission impossible or mission very expensive. And just like know about this kind of specialties of our market here in Barcelona. Be very nice to agents, because their word matter when they give the profile to landlords. So I always try to, like, that's my job. So whenever a client comes with me, they just looking at the apartments, and I'm there charming the agencies, telling them that yes, this is like a perfect candidate, even though they don't have Spanish income, but they like have this and this. They are like very stable financially. They can provide and just enhancing all the advantages of this client. And also it's just psychologically helps the agent to remember me and remember our client, and then they're like, oh yeah, yeah, let's try to move on with this one.
Okay.
And yeah, that's quite kind of a couple of tips, as well as always look for deposit amounts, remembering that officially they're not allowed to charge more than 3 months of deposit. Because before this May law, it was also the issue that one of the ways how landlords would accept a candidate of a foreigner if they pay in advance the entire fee of 11 months, or they pay 6 months deposit, which is quite abusive, because that's like the down payment for mortgage, kind of. So yeah.
Okay. And how can we learn more about what you do and how you help people?
You can always sign up to my Instagram, which is here and down the line, and Lila says, but there's like the down part missing, down bar. It's
Okay.
Lila bar says, yeah. And you can give me a call. I'm always on my phone. I can share it later here in the chat. So if someone is looking for, and well, of course, my LinkedIn profile, which I believe I was tagged.
Okay. Anything any last thing that you would like to share with how to get in touch with you, or about maybe a last leaving tip for people to remember as you're helping people integrate into Barcelona? What are your specialties? What languages do you speak that you can help people with, for example?
Of course. Well, you can also get in touch with me through Barcelona Metropolitan magazine. There, I believe there's an article about me, so there are more information. I'm covering all the clients in English, Russian, Spanish, and a bit of French communities, whereas French is not exactly my strongest language. And I have a team in my relocation company that also speaks Swedish and Norwegian. So Scandinavian countries are also covered now.
Okay.
And yeah, it's not a tip, it's just the wish of staying optimistic, because everyone ends up with a good apartment. And just don't give up, but don't be very brutal on yourself. Trying to try to get as much time as possible, and everything will happen.
Okay. One question. You Is there a particular market for an audience that you support, or a type of flat that you try to help find? Meaning, are you in general anything, or are you looking for way upscale? I also know that you do sales of homes and relocation. We haven't really spoken much about the relocation and the luxury market. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm dealing with the sales and apartment hunting for buy as well, but that's mostly the high end luxury sector that I'm working with, because I have a lot of partners and a lot of flats in my catalog, which I can suggest and we can propose to the client. Whereas with rentals, to be honest, I work with every kind of budget and profile, because my services in rental are very specific. So the client with the like very high demand and very high budget might not need my kind of service. But of course, that depends, because if someone wants a very comfortable way of renting, they can still hire me, because that's what I provide. I provide quality service where a client should not worry about anything about. They just need, if they want, to come to the visits with me. If not, I'll do it all myself and save their time, and just deliver them the flat that, in my opinion and in their opinion by video call, suits them. That's one of the main parts of my relocation service. However, also I provide consultation for any kind of questions, education, medical, financial. I work with the amazing lawyers and gestores, the accountants team, which can also advise on the comfortable language. So it's whether it could be English or Russian, with the translators and to Scandinavian languages as well. And yeah, all kind of like, my clients, I usually stay with me. So after we find an apartment or just sign the kids to the school, they come back to me with completely different requests, like help us change the number plate to Spanish in our car, for example. That's after the school thing. Or after the apartment hunt for rentals, they actually decide that they want to take hypotheca, the credit, the mortgage, and actually buy a flat within a year after they just rented. Everything happens, and I'm more than welcome. And if I cannot help somehow with one topic to my client, I definitely know to who they can be referred to, because, well, 12 years experience of Barcelona is not just just not year, like written years. That's time of a life.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Lila. I think we have finished everything here. Now, I've been writing your name as Layla because it's easier for people who didn't know you to pronounce your name. But I will put both of the correct spelling, formal spelling of your name in the text,
The
as well
password.
as the proper Instagram account and the links. And as you know, here at Metropolitan, we're always looking to add value to the English-speaking community and the international community of Barcelona. And I know you've been adding lots of value to people who are looking for their dream home, as well as people who didn't know how to find a flat. So this is actually very helpful. And just wanted to say thank you so much, Lila.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. Such a good morning.
Okay, well, have a fantastic day. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with Lila regarding your flat finding services. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.